Hi everyone, my name is John Skillington from Blue Room Productions. I make corporate video branding stuff like that for companies, and also social media video content for marketing. And as a part of that, I got thinking recently with the pandemic and everything that's going on, where's it going to go? What's next for marketing? I mean, obviously people are going to be cautious now after this, but at the same time, there's probably going to be some opportunities out there for others. And so to that end, I've reached out to some marketeers here in Barcelona that some I've worked with, some I haven't worked with yet. All of them are in different areas of marketing. And so I thought it'd be good to have a conversation with them just on their thoughts on the short term to midterm of what marketing looks like for the rest of this year and then potentially beyond that. Hope you enjoy. Changed for you immediately that you've noticed? Actually, before we even do that, if you can just introduce yourself and what your area is particularly for the nice people that may or may not be watching this.
So my name is Maeva Cifuentes. I run Flying Cat Marketing, which is an SEO-driven and user-focused content marketing agency. And basically, we help SaaS companies and companies in the short-term rental industry increase traffic, qualified traffic to their website via their blog and the content that they write on their own website. And so we use SEO mostly, also some other distribution means, to get people to come to their website and sign on to their email list and eventually become customers.
Okay.
So that's my story.
And what have you, if anything, what have you seen that's been different now because of this?
So one immediate thing that I noticed on a few different websites was in the middle of March, just traffic plummeting. And it was because, people weren't searching for anything except for maybe, coronavirus information. They're searching for ways to switch to remote work, Zoom calls, those kind of things, not only to switch to remote work for their team and their company, but also maybe people who found themselves out of a job and then they're searching for remote jobs, what kind of skills they may already have that could be used remotely, et cetera, et cetera. But the majority of kind of content that was on the website that was previously attracting traffic didn't work anymore. It wasn't resonating with the situation of most people.
Makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. Now we've managed to go back and re-optimize some of the old posts that were getting traffic to make it better serve people's situations, and also create new content that also is better serving, the new era.
I saw in one of the other videos that you had put up, you talked about kind of recontextualizing some of that stuff. That seems to have been working?
It has worked. So we haven't gone back yet to the prior levels of traffic because SEO takes a while, but we're getting traffic back up. So that's a combination of re-optimizing the old posts, creating new content, and things getting back to normal. People starting to get hope again and maybe starting to go back to their old searching patterns. Maybe not entirely, but now they're starting to feel a little more comfortable, not always looking up coronavirus information.
And with recontextualizing content then, I mean, give me an example of that, something that's worked out for you with that client.
So, for example, for one of my short-term rental clients, we had a post that was receiving, I'll give you an example of one that got destroyed by search, which was basically one about the Airbnb cancellation policy. So pre-COVID, we were basically number one on Google. But then people are traveling, all their Airbnbs. So there's two people who would be searching for this. It's guests who are using Airbnbs and they want to figure out, do they have the right to cancel their listing? And then there's hosts who are like, why is Airbnb letting my guests cancel all their listings and taking all my money? So that search got really heavy, and Airbnb kept making all these different changes to their cancellation policy. So then there was just a bunch of journal articles and a lot of other things that were directly relevant to the situation that took up all of the first page of Google, and ours just went down because ours was about the cancellation policy for hosts pre-COVID. I mean, it wasn't that relevant anymore. Another piece that we had before, which we've managed to save traffic from, was, for example, the description of your Airbnb. So where before we would say, oh, you got to paint a picture because before the avatar was different. The people who were booking Airbnbs were people who were traveling, leisure travelers, people going on vacation, etc. So you'd have to write your description in a way that paints a picture. Like if you have a listing in Paris, you say, oh, you can hear the accordions, you can see the Eiffel Tower, you can smell the baguettes, you know, kind of paint a picture for them. But those people aren't traveling anymore. And the people who are reading these posts, who are Airbnb hosts who want to optimize their listing, they go on there and they're like, well, this isn't going to work. Nobody's doing that. So they leave. And then the post loses relevance. So we talked to a lot of hosts. We interviewed a lot of people. We talked to a lot of experts, and we figured out, A, who the new avatar is, and how they are kind of fixing their description to better cater to this avatar. And also Airbnb came out with some rules in terms of like what you can say in your title and not. So you can't say like, this is coronavirus free, because
of course
that's often false marketing. You can't guarantee that. It's dangerous. So they were actually penalizing people who would use those words. So we did a lot of research, and then we kind of re-optimized these pages to help hosts target the new travelers who are staycationers or traveling nurses or work from homers, people who have a bunch of kids at home and they can't focus on their work. They're also renting Airbnbs nearby so that they have a place to go work. So finding all this information out, we were able to use the same page, which already had the domain authority. It's been there for a while. It was already receiving traffic, and just kind of update it with the new information and change the title to reflect the new information. So instead of Airbnb description, I don't remember what the title was, but something like, you know, to get more travelers to book with you. Instead, it's, you know, getting the new era of travelers, or the new era of guests. So we repurposed that same piece and updated it with information that's a lot more relevant to current hosts. And now we're seeing the traffic going back up. So we're going back through a lot of the pieces and saying, okay, which part of this doesn't make any sense anymore? Like, which part of this isn't useful to the reader? And a lot of it wasn't useful anymore because everything in that industry has changed. So we have to go back and keep making it something that's actually useful for them. And that has helped us regain the traffic.
That's interesting, actually, because I think there's going to be many different sectors and stuff that are going to be in a similar situation, that their potential clients or their potential business, it's different people with different needs now that they're going to have to point their services at. And how did you find out, you know, like, for example, that people who are working from home that have kids are renting Airbnbs, or who are some of the other examples? Like, how did you know that? Did you searched online, you found out who was looking for things? And
no, we talked to people. So the only way that you can get this kind of data, I mean, you could try guessing, maybe you'll be right. Most likely, maybe you'll be half right. You know, there's not very much value in guessing who your avatar is. The best way to figure that out is by being constantly talking to them. So this particular client has Facebook groups, like a really, really big community.
Okay.
We did surveys. We were just constantly talking to people and, you know, asking people, okay, you still have bookings. Why do you still have bookings? Who's booking with you? So that's how we figured out the people who still had some occupancy. They told us what kind of people are coming. And then there's also a lot of other studies from other SaaS companies who have this data, like property management software. They have a lot of data on this, and they also run surveys, and we can ask them or get access to their data. But the only way to figure this out is by having conversations with people.
Yeah, and I that as well, I think, is going to be relevant for people in other areas and sectors, myself included. Anybody else is just going to have to find out now what the new work is and where it's at, you know, because as you rightly say, guessing any of that stuff might work, but what's also a likely possibility is you're going to put a lot of time and output into something that's not going to give you any return.
Yeah, it would just be luck if it worked, but you don't need to operate on luck. You just have to not be afraid to talk to people.
I heard a wonderful quote a long time ago, and I forget who originally said it, and they were referring to luck, and it said that luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and this now is
I like that.
a very apt moment for something like that. And so, okay, so it would be probably fair to say that in most industries now, in most sectors, business is going to somewhat change. It might change fundamentally for some, and it might change absolutely for others. And so obviously, like for your situation there now, you need to know who your new client is as such. Now, going back to the short to midterm stuff, do you expect this new client to be someone that you're going to be aiming at for a time? Or are you always going to be appealing to this client from now on? Or will that just go back to the previous clients you had before?
Are you asking me for my client or for the people that I'm helping my clients target?
The people you were talking about previously were your average everyday tourists. They're coming here, they've got a little holiday, they're going to get an Airbnb. Could be couples getting away, could be single person, could be family. There's different demographics and so on. But that all changed now because obviously now you're targeting people because they can't travel. So you're targeting people now who have to be here and want it for other reasons. So I guess my question is, you're going to go back to targeting the people who can travel in the future when they can travel. But will you still be targeting the people now that you're targeting to try and
see what you mean.
as a client base to add to what you had previously?
So this is getting really meta because those people are the customers of my clients. All
right, okay.
All the way down there. But
inception of clients.
Yeah.
Is that a collective noun for clients?
I don't know. I don't know what the noun is, but I think that there's definitely going to be a shift, that there's going to be, for one, I think there's going to be a huge movement towards work from home.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that leisure travel is going to return for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I don't want to guess that either. We're just going to create content for the people who are most relevant, and then just kind of keep staying in touch with everybody and keep the conversations going. Now, if you're asking me about my clients who are B2B companies who want to connect with other business owners. So my clients are changing as well, because the majority of my clients before were in the short-term rental industry. Mm-hmm. And so they were companies who were trying to attract Airbnb hosts. Mm-hmm. And a lot of Airbnb hosts are now in a really shitty situation, and they're not going to be investing in these companies. They're not going to want to spend their money. They're trying to cut expenses. So then my clients are also trying to cut expenses. Mm-hmm. And they maybe aren't, it's a kind of two-sided thing, because I give them marketing. So now is a wonderful time to be investing in marketing, digital marketing. Mm-hmm. But it's hard for them to justify spending when basically, because all the hosts' incomes have been cut, their income has also been cut, their revenue. So it's hard to justify investing. So luckily, I have also just sort of not pivoted, but I just before COVID, I was lucky to kind of start working with some SaaS companies, software as a service, who work, in IT and software. And a lot of those haven't been that affected. Almost the contrary, they are skyrocketing. Mm-hmm. So my avatar has also changed, because mm-hmm. I'm seeing my short-term rental company avatar, they're struggling, and they are kind of apprehensive to investing in new things. Mm-hmm. And these SaaS companies, now is the time for them to get this content out, to build a brand around the content, to tell their stories. So my avatar has changed. Whether I'll go back to I mean, I haven't left short-term rental industry, so it's not about going back, but I am definitely interested in pursuing these software companies a little more because they seem to be recession-proof.
Yeah.
Which means to help recession-proof my business as well.
Well, that's kind of, that leads on as well to this, to just like the midterm of this then, because I think that story there will be, like myself included, will be very common for lots of people. We're all going to have to just turn a little bit now and see where, because, you know, this is what I kind of talked to you about initially when I was putting this idea to you about doing this call, that for sure, you know, businesses are going to be cautious now, economically, and in other ways as well. And it is a perfect time to do the marketing now. But
yes.
At the same time, they're going to be cautious. They don't want to, their revenue's been impacted, as you've said, and they don't want to be spending money on stuff now that they're not guaranteed a refund from or a return on. And marketing isn't that. Marketing's a long game. So, you know, you don't pay someone to do marketing this month and get someone buying something the next month. But having said that then as well, like for example, software companies and other types of business, there's lots of people who they've been affected, but they might be two income families, or they might be a one income person. They have money saved, you know, because they haven't been spending it, and they're looking to spend that money as a consumer. So I guess finding where those are and stuff, I think is going to have to be all of our responsibilities, I guess, as like small business owners or entrepreneurs or whatever way, to be a bit more agile, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What I find interesting about what you just said is, yeah, you have to figure out, we're all saying, how are we going to figure this out? And talking about trends and things that are changing, I think that there's a big shift right now in marketing, which I have always been a fan of before, but it wasn't as obvious how important it is until now, which is building relationships and having conversations with people. Because I find that before there was a lot of kind of trying to automate and scale relationship building and talking to people, and that's not something that you can scale and automate. Mm-hmm. And now it's becoming so much more important, where you're on LinkedIn and you're just getting hit with all these messages and DMs from people who are obviously desperate to get some business, but they don't want to spend the time to get to know you and to build this relationship. And relationship is also a long-term game, just like marketing. So I think that that's going to be one of the key differentiators in brands that are able to make it through this and brands that aren't, is how much time are you going to spend building personal relationships? So not just, hey, nice to meet you, I like your company, do you want to hear about my services? But just getting to know people as humans and realizing that marketing is, I say I do B2B, but I don't do B2B, I do human to human. And B2C, B2B, all of that, it's actually, we're forgetting too much that we're actually talking to other people.
Yeah.
That you want to build these relationships with people and build your personal brand and your personal relationships, regardless of the size of your company or what it is that you do. That's going to be the most important thing right now.
100%. And I mean, you know, I've seen it in other places, you know, when I've been kind of looking at what's going on here over the last weeks, and many people have said similar stuff. You know, it's the best thing anyone has now is themselves. That's the unique thing that you can offer anyone. Anyone can offer a service, but your expertise, your personality, how you work with your client, the value you bring to them aside from the service that you provide them, I think, I agree with you, is going to be absolutely massive now going forward, you know. And again, how this will change the landscape for people, you know, strategizing on content like you do, or making it like I do. I wonder because as you say, I think a lot of people are going to kind of drop off the back of this now because they haven't been doing these things. So maybe it thins out the workplace maybe it won't be saturated potentially like it was previously.
Maybe not. I'm not sure about that. I think, well, a lot of people are going to be pivoting. A lot of people are going to try to get into the digital space if they haven't already. What I think, is going to be important is building these relationships, creating more content, being more authentic. And the thing about building these relationships is also that gives you such an advantage, because there now the digital space is going to be saturated with people trying to get work. But since companies are so much more cautious about the money that they spend, it almost is, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but you could give the best value proposition, but they're going to be like, well, I don't know. I already know this person and I've been following them and talking to them and I trust them.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe they're a little more expensive, or maybe it's not exactly the same thing that you're offering, but I already know them and I want to be careful and I want to make sure I'm making a good investment. So that's going to be the differentiator, where it's going to be trust, basically, which comes from your brand, your personal brand, your company brand, and the content that you create.
Yeah,
and
totally.
The relationships, the conversations that you have.
Long term, aside from building relationships to try and improve your business and so on like that, what else what's your thoughts or your feelings on where marketing will head now as a result of all of this?
Well, one thing that I noticed for some of my clients is, before I like to plan everything in advance, which has been impossible now to do, because we would write one article, schedule it for 2 weeks later, and then basically none of the information was valid anymore because everything had changed so quickly. So we had to take everything kind of day by day. So I think one thing that's going to be important in the long term is that kind of flexibility. Another thing that's going to be important is focusing on profitability versus just generating revenue. So I don't know, this isn't just for marketing. I mean, this is for business in general, but a lot of the companies that before COVID, they focused on profitability. They had a nest egg. They kept track of their expenditures and the revenue that was coming in, the profit and loss. They're fine right now, or they're at least able to coast through this. Whereas companies who were just like, oh, we'll spend here, we'll spend here, we'll spend here. I just want to invest everything in my business. I don't keep track of that kind of stuff. We have, 20 streams of income, but we don't even know which one is actually profitable. They're in the shithole now because they were just focusing on cash flow and revenue, and they now don't have it, like, that stopped. So one thing I think is going to shift is companies are going to be paying a lot more attention to this kind of financial situation. They're going to focus on profitability. They're going to focus on revenue drivers. So people who are servicing them are going to have to change their value propositions to show that this is a revenue driver, what they give, which is a bit challenging in branding and marketing, because not all branding and marketing has a direct attribution that you can demonstrate or that you can measure. Yeah, in content marketing, you can measure traffic. There's a lot of metrics that you can follow, but so much of the stuff happens at the branding level and the reputation level and how people perceive you, and it takes months and months and months before they've been following you. And maybe the attribution is from branding or marketing, but you won't be able to measure that because you don't know at one point they entered your funnel. And you don't know how much of your content it took them to finally want to work with you. So that's going to be a challenge in marketing and branding and for people entering this space, because they're going to have to find a way to demonstrate this value to companies who are going to be a lot more careful about how they're spending their money.
Yes. And I mean, expecting some sort of immediate return on that, it's like, oh, I'm spending money now, I want to see what it does. Well,
you can for a lot of the time, especially with SEO. I mean, SEO, you see the curve is like slow to rise, and then if you do have some money to invest in outbound or like ads, paid distribution of your content, then you can kind of fill that space so that it's not so slow. But that's the one challenging part about organic marketing, is that it can take some time, and it takes time to build that reputation, and it's something that you need, because now it's kind of a double-edged sword, because people don't want to spend money on something that's not driving revenue immediately, but at the same time their customers aren't going to want to invest in them if they don't trust them, if they haven't interacted with their brand for a long time, if they're just popping up calling them and saying, hey, buy my service. They're like, who are you? I've never heard of you. How did you get my phone number, or how did you get my email? So it's kind of, you need this branding more than ever now, because people need trust. people are so skeptical and so paranoid right now. You need to build that trust and you need to build those relationships, but that also takes time.
Yes.
And it's not a directly measurable revenue driver. So that's a challenge.
And I wonder as well, like a lot of these companies that you've referenced now that are, you know, focusing on revenue and not so much profitability, I think that's a mindset as well that would exist. So you might find companies that will be cautious now and they're like, oh God, what if this happens again, and so on. But they may also then have the foresight to have a longer view of this and go, all right, let's just move in the right direction now that we can become more profitable.
Yeah.
By going in this direction, doing this marketing, doing this content, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that in 2, 3, 4 years from now, we're going to be completely secure. But if you have a company or businesses that are very cautious now because of what's happened, because they got caught with their pants down, they didn't have any surplus money, they had to let people go, they will probably, just out of the scarring, I guess, of that incident, will just go, no, well, I don't want to invest long term on any of this, because what happens if this turns around next year? I don't have money then. I don't see a result like this.
Yeah. I don't know what that's going to look like. I think, you know, everybody's reacting in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I think looking at the things long term and seeing what kind of foundations we can lay now will be, those companies will come out in a good situation, especially those who understand the value of building trust and building relationships. They may realize, okay, we need better, more efficient processes, for example, to align our marketing with our sales. So before we were just kind of doing a bunch of marketing here because what we do see the value in marketing, but then sales is kind of doing their own thing. So one step we can do is find a way to make those align together so that these leads that are coming in through marketing are actually useful to the sales department. So, you know, find efficiencies in that way so that the ROI comes a little bit quicker, or it's a little bit easier to measure, and just kind of get everybody involved on the goal, which is a long-term goal. But yeah, I guess I think there's going to be, you know, half and half, a lot of companies that are just destroyed and have lost hope. And then a lot of companies that are seeing this as an opportunity.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, you know, nobody really knows now. Right now, it's too soon for anyone to say, I'm going to plan long term for this, because you just don't know. You just don't know.
And you can make some guesses. I mean, you can make some educated, informed guesses based on data and based on what you've seen. But right now, yeah, everything is so uncertain.
That's awesome. I think that pretty much covers everything. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
I don't think so. I mean, that's all. If anybody wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, they should do that. I like to meet people online. Now I've gotten used to online networking, so it's going to be weird to do some in-person networking again, but I found a love for online networking. It's very cool to meet people.
I'll put your links for all of those as well in below this on LinkedIn, so people can connect with you. Awesome. Well, I think that pretty much covers it. And thanks so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah. Thanks. See you later.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.